All right. Good morning, guys. From wherever that you're joining. If it's afternoon, then good afternoon to you. All right. So we will continue from where we left off yesterday.
Good morning, guys.
Okay. All right. So yesterday I think we got up to this point. Today we will keep going. We will continue from here. Um, Everybody is in. Some people are trying to get in. They trying to. Okay. Whoever is trying to get in, let me check. Everybody should be in by now. Well, I think Larry. So again, just a housekeeping note: when you come on, um, automatically you're going to be muted. If not, you have to mute yourself because we don't want feedbacks and noise from the background. So I will try and do my best to mute everybody, but um, you have to mute yourself. If you have a question, you will use the chat box. Okay, you use the chat box um, to ask whatever question that you have, and I will get to it. If you have anything to talk about, question, ask, you will use the chat box. When you use the chat box, I will get to it. All right. So we ended up here with a team members composition. Today, we're going to talk about why analysis. See, the role or the work of the business analyst, the product owner, is very, very important. But let us, take the back row seat for a second and let's understand why analysis is very, very key. Analysis is very important. As I try to admit people, some people are still coming in. So analysis is very, very important. If you want to take on a project, you want to build any platform, it doesn't matter how complex it is. It doesn't matter maybe how simple that platform might be. It always starts with you, right? So this is why your role is very, very important in any establishment, in any business. The role that you have is critical. So why analysis? So first of all, it helps you to understand the structure and then the dynamics of the company. So we take a look at any company, you trying to build something, you'll have to go up the ranks, come all the way down, understand the nature of business, understand who will perform what. So when you're performing analysis, it will help you to understand the structure, especially when you're building platforms that, there will be workflows and processes in the system and whatnot. So this is a good way to understand the structure and the dynamics of the company. That's number one. Number two, it allows you to understand the current problems in the target organization. So whilst you're performing the work of analysis, you begin to understand the pain points, right? Why we are here today, why we're doing this today, why there is a need for us to build this system. There's a need for us to build this platform. So you begin to, as you connect and as you liaise with different stakeholders within the organization, you begin to understand, oh, okay, so this is why we need to build this, bill payment platform, wire transfer enhancement. This is why we need to do this money transfer piece. This is why compliance is asking us to build this feature, right? It's very, very important. So it allows you to understand the current problems and in the target organization. So as you're performing analysis, you begin to understand, oh, okay, as you liaise with different stakeholders, different subject matter experts within the organization, different departments and units within the organization, you begin to understand why we are here today or why this feature will be beneficial to the organization, right? It's very, very important. And all the time, when we're building solutions, it always starts with the current state, and then we look at the future state. So as you look at the current state, you begin to know, oh, okay, this is a problem, this is an issue, this is a problem, there's an issue here. So as we begin to put all the issues, the problem, the gaps in the current state system, it will help us get to the desired state, or what we call the to be system. So the current state is something that in information systems we call it the as is. That is the as is system. That is what we have currently. That's the current state, and then the future state, right? Very, very important. So thirdly, it helps you to identify improvement potentials and recommending solutions to enable organizations to achieve its goals. So as you perform analysis, you begin to understand, and you begin to know ways that there can be improvement. You begin to know ways that there can be improvement. You identify improvement potentials. As a matter of fact, you can start with A, but you discover B, C, D, and E as well. So when you begin to liaise with different stakeholders within the organization, and as they begin to tell you, okay, this is a current state, this is a problem that customers are having, you begin to collaborate with call center managers. You begin to collaborate with core banking operation managers, begin to collaborate with compliance marketing team. They might tell you just one, but as they are narrating the story, they will be telling you it's going to be there's going to be a lot of story. They're going to tell you why they're having issues. You as a business analyst, as they're telling you, or as a product owner, as they're telling you their story, you begin to identify several improvement potentials on what can happen to the platform. So guys, be looking out for that. As they start telling you, you start taking note. Once they say A, they say B, and then you begin to see, oh, they can even add, this feature as well. They can even add this. So the organization depends on you to improve their current state architecture and their current state system. It's very important. Number 4, it helps you to identify and articulate the need for change, right? So as they, arm you with all these, pain points and problems, whatever, when you put all this information together, they have armed you to be able to make your case known that this is why we need to go this route, or this is why we need to go X or Y path, right? Very, very important. You'll be able to articulate the change that is needed at every level within the organization. So when you're on meetings and when you have to do a presentation, or when you're doing elicitation, whoever you're talking to, you have been armed enough. You have been given a lot of information to be able to articulate, the roadmap, right? The roadmap of the feature sets that we're trying to build. Very important. And then the 5th one, to maximize value delivered by an organization to its stakeholders. So all the time, be looking out. I think yesterday I mentioned, as we want to drive efficiency, we want to increase productivity and also increase profitability of the company. All the time, when you're building any kind of platform, you're building any kind of system, be always on the lookout that how does this increase or maximize value for us, right? Anything that we want to build, guys, keep this in mind. It has to make economic sense, right? That platform that we want to build, that system that we want to build, as we're solutioning it, as we're building something, we're adding resources, team members, it has to make economic sense. Every feature every enhancement that we add into our already existing platforms or whatever, it has to make economic sense. So keep that in mind. Moving on. Um, so there are steps involved in business analysis process. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're a project manager or you are a product owner, to be able to perform and to be able to function in your capacity, in your role. Um, if you are well grounded in business analysis process, you'll be very efficient and you'll be very successful as well, right? So we start from here. The training session starts from the business analysis grounding. I'm trying to get you guys grounded, and then we'll move up towards PO, a typical PO type of role and function, and then we'll move up also to what you call it, project manager also role. But there are steps in business analysis process, right? Here I have 6 over here. So number 1 is enterprise analysis. Number 2 is requirement planning and management. Number 3 is requirement elicitation. Number 4, requirement analysis and documentation. Number 5, requirement communication. As you put requirement together, you need to be able to communicate, to stakeholders, whether internal or external. You need to be able to do that, right? Number 6 is solution evaluation and validation, right? All right. So let's start with enterprise analysis. Now, any kind of solution that we want to build, and if I go back to, for instance, let me see if I can go back. Yesterday, I show you eBay, I show you Wells Fargo Bank, I show you, Bank of America, any kind of platform that we want to build, as nice as it is right here. It didn't start from here. We didn't get here overnight, right? If you look at Bank of America website, that like you see on your screen, we did not get here overnight. So they started building it from somewhere. There was an MVP, that's a minimum viable product. Yesterday, I explained the concept of MVP, that we have so many things to do. So for instance, when they started, they had checking account, savings, credit card, home loans, auto loans, investing, better money habits, all these features and all these things that are on their website. They didn't start today. They didn't start overnight. They started adding features here incrementally, that is gradual, one after the other, right? So features here were added to the platform incrementally. So they have a session for personal banking, small business, wealth management, business and institutions, and security, and then they have about us. All these things did not happen overnight, guys. They started building on it incrementally. So when we are building anything, when we're starting to build any kind of platforms, and I know some of you are engineers already, some of you are coming from engineering background, but like I said, we started from the basic so that everybody will understand. Everybody, we will all be on the same page. Very, very important. Give me a second. Let me see if somebody's on waiting room. Okay, so this is where we start. We start with analysis, enterprise analysis. So what is enterprise analysis? Let's go back to where it doesn't matter whether it's Amazon, Wells Fargo, eBay, and any platform that you're familiar with. So let's go to the enterprise analysis. So enterprise analysis, this area covers a collection of pre-project activities that leads up to project selection guided by the business analyst. So again, the role of the business analyst or the product owner is very, very important, So even before the project kickoff, you guys have to know this, guys. Even before the project kickoff, there are a series of activities that needs to happen. But all of these activities that we are talking about is guided by who? By you. Number 1, you're going to talk about architecture, right? You might not be, the technologically, savvy person in the room, or all the things, but you're going to have smart guys, smart people around you. You're going to have, solution architects, you're going to have, cloud engineers. If it's something that you guys are building from the scratch, right? Building from ground zero. That's how I want to call it. If you're building something from ground zero, that means there is nothing. You're definitely going to have, people like, solution architects. You're going to have, cloud engineers, infrastructure guys, sysadmins, system administrators. You're going to have software engineers. You're going to have everybody, coming together, and then you guys are planning. You guys are thinking about, okay, if this is the solution that we want to build, if this is the feature that we need to build, we need to start talking about the business architecture, right? So that is part of enterprise analysis. Number two, you also prepare a business case, right? You also prepare a business case. By preparing a business case, you will have series and different types of documents that will let everybody, every individual within the organization know how the system will work, how actors, individuals will interact with that system, right? When you get to that system, think about it. When you go to the ATM, right? You insert your card. So sometimes it will ask you for maybe a language selection, depending on whatever zone that you are. So you insert your card, it prompts you for, PIN number. When you enter the PIN number, it will give you a different set of menu again, and then you go ahead and, you are prompted. You select another menu. Think about it. That is how it is. So by preparing a document, you prepare a similar type of document where as users interact with the system, the kind of response and series of activity that is going to happen. So you prepare the business case so that everybody understands this is where we're going. This is the promised land. This is going to be our finish line or destination, right? So enterprise analysis will help you, get you informed, get all the information that you need to be able to put up a business case, to be able to put up a document, that will it's like a blueprint, right? It's like a blueprint that will let everybody know where we're going, and then preparing for decision package. So as you put all of these things together, guys, there's going to be decision, right? There's going to be decision. That means senior managers, people on the higher ranks, they will make a decision on this. So very, very important. I am, recording. As a matter, no, I am actually live on YouTube. Yeah. So today's meeting is already live on YouTube, so you guys can have access on it. It's the same channel like I shared yesterday. Yeah. So you guys will have access to it. So thank you, Richard, for prompting me. All right, great. So let's move on. So it's going to help you to prepare for decision making. So whatever you put together, this is what's going to let decision makers sign off on this and say yes. We're going to give you guys budget. We're going to approve the budget. Let's go for it. Let's get it done. And then from enterprise analysis, we're going to come to requirement planning and management. This is also a very important phase, or a very important step here. So requirement planning and management. In this step, you will need to define the tasks, the resource, which are associated with the planning and management of the requirement. This will help you to ensure that the set of activities that are undertaken is appropriate according to specific project. It's also very important to capture changes correctly and then consistently. So we move from enterprise analysis, we're coming to requirement planning and management. What are we doing here? We are beginning to get into the nitty-gritties of the project. We are defining tasks, we're defining roles, we're defining the type of resources that we need. Every project that we start or we embark on, we're going to need resources. There is no way a project will be able to start by itself and then also complete by itself. It's not going to happen, right? So there's a need for us to be able to know, okay, step one, what are we doing? What kind of resources are we going to need? Who is going to be doing what? So it's very important. So we begin to define roles. We're going to need maybe a DB, some data modeler. We need to be able to build our database. We need to be able to have schemas. We need to have this. We begin to do all of these things. We need software engineers. We need QAs. We need cloud architects. We need hosting. We need all of this. So you begin to define the series or the sequence of tasks that needs to be performed and by who, and the kind of resources that we need for planning and then the management of this requirement, right? So it's very, very important also over here. And then we have requirement elicitation. This step or this phase is also very, very, very important, guys. Very important. Requirement elicitation. Requirement elicitation is very, very important. Requirement elicitation phase consists of researching and discovering the requirement of a system from users, customers, and other stakeholders. So think about it. Every platform that we want to build, right? So like the Bank of America one that I just showed you guys, or maybe Wells Fargo Bank, or maybe eBay or Amazon, or any platform that you're familiar with, right? Um, every platform starts with requirement elicitation. Somebody somewhere is the stakeholder, is the one that is cutting our check, is the one that is approving a budget, is the one that is saying that, guys, we need to build this platform. They are the owners of the platform. So what are we doing? When we are the requirement gathering or the requirement elicitation phase, you as a business analyst or as a PO, you get to talk to stakeholders. And as you talk to stakeholders, you are eliciting requirement. What does that mean? That means they will tell you, this is my wish list. This is what I want to build. I want to build a platform that I can sell African product on the platform. On this platform, I want users to be able to select, they can add items to their cart. And then when they add items to their cart, they can go ahead and check out. When they are checking out, I want to have maybe 5 preferred method of payment: Apple Pay, Android Pay, Visa, PayPal. I want to have all these different preferred method of payment. The stakeholder or the solution owner is going to tell you. Yesterday, I talked about the different team members that potential or likely you're going to be working with. The stakeholder is going to tell you that, this is how I want it to be done. I want this over here. I want this over here. I want my logo to be on the left corner of the page. I want my logo to be on the right corner. I want header menu about us, what we do, who we are. They'll tell you all those information. And as they're telling you, you're writing and you also asking relevant question. Again, the key word here is what? Relevant question. You don't want to ask questions that, they will second guess. How did you get here? So relevant question. So as they're telling you, this is how we're going to do it. This is how it's going to be built. It's a series of research and discovery. They're going to tell you maybe the pain point, right? The problem that they are facing, the problem that, the challenges that they're having with the platform, if it's an already existing platform, it's not a new one or something we're building from ground zero, right? So they'll tell you, and then it's a phase that we also call discovery, right? So at the discovery phase, this is where you will learn, you will learn about the platform and what is at stake and what we're trying to build, why we are here. So discovery. Usually I tell people in different training sessions that, hey, there's a time for you to be quiet and just listening, listening, right? You just have to be quiet, just listen to whatever they're saying and then take notes. At a future date or maybe subsequent meetings, you look back to your note and you come out with a couple of questions that you want to ask. So how do you guys want this process to work? So if somebody wants to build a platform to sell maybe share butter or something like that, the person will give you all the things that they want to do. I will only accept maybe US dollars. I will only do this. I will display 15 items on one page at a time. The person will give you all this set of information, or you can also ask. But again, as a relevant question. So as a person is telling you, you're writing it down, you're taking note, So this phase consists of researching and also discovering the requirement of the system from the users, the customers, and other stakeholders. So information is going to get thrown at you from different quarters, right? You're going to get information thrown at you from different areas and customers. So maybe call center managers might share what customers are saying about the platform and what we need to enhance or what we need to change. Information might come from users direct their feedback. Information might come from stakeholders, right? They have an aggregation or a compilation of issues that they will want to share, and then we want to help solve for them. So that is requirement elicitation. This phase is very, very important. Moving on. So we have requirement analysis and documentation. As we do this elicitation and enterprise analysis and all these things, we have a job, or we have a duty to analyze all this information, and not only that, also document, right? We have a responsibility. We have a duty to put all this information together, document it, so that it will make sense to whoever that reads it or our audience. So this stage describe how stakeholders need to analyze, structure, and specify the design and implementation of a solution, right? Requirement analysis helps you to define the methods, the tools to be used to structure the raw data. So as you're talking to stakeholders, as you're getting, information about what we're trying to build, all of this is very important. But again, it is even more important, for us to document it, for us to put this information together, right? So we need to be able to analyze it, structure it, put it in the right format, in the right, table of content. So when you put it together, you may have certain things like, the project overview, the goal of the project. You may talk about business processes that is going to be affected in the documentation. You talk about risks, that you need to know. You talk about assumptions. You talk about, functional requirement stuff. You talk about non-functional requirement stuff. You talk about some data library. There are a lot of things that you're going to be putting together, and we will get to some of these things, right? We will get to some of this stuff so that it doesn't come to you as a surprise. Nothing will take you by, surprise, because you already have the format, the kind of information that you need to present, right? Moving on. Requirement communication, right? Requirement communication. So this phase is a collection of activities for expressing the output of the requirement analysis. Moreover, every requirement needs to be packaged, evaluated, and approved before the solution is implemented. So as you put all of these things together, you're not doing it for yourself, right? So when we put all the requirements, all this information, data structure, the tables, whatever, all these, pieces of information together, we are not doing it for ourselves. We got to be able to put it together and also package it and then communicate it back to stakeholders, right? So this is that activities that the sort of activity that is going to be performed here. We need to be able to express the output of our requirement analysis. So whatever that we did, it will go back. And I have, I think, a slide that will talk about, the requirement gathering phase, a certain number of days that it might take you, and then how it will go back to the stakeholder, and then you go and get some approval or sign off on the requirements from the stakeholder. We'll talk about all of these things as well in subsequent meetings. So this is going to be the last one for the steps that are involved. So we have solution evolution and validation. This phase is very simple. So this phase ensures that the solution should be able to meet the stakeholders' objective. So at this phase, we will want to validate and check to make sure that whatever that we put together, it could be testing phase for days, it could be UAT phase for days, but whatever we put together meet the stakeholders' objective. So whatever that they ask us to do or whatever that they tax us to do, we have been able to accomplish it, right? So these are the steps that are involved. Let's move on to common business analysis techniques. So there are a couple of business analysis techniques that we want to also talk about this morning. The common ones that we use a lot when it comes to business analysis is MOST. So we use the acronym. So all of these things are acronyms. You guys have to take note. The MOST is an acronym which stands for mission, objectives, and strategies. We'll be talking about it momentarily. We have Pesto, P-E-S-T-L-E-E. P-E-S-T-L-E, yeah, Pesto. We have SWOT, and you guys are familiar with SWOT, the very popular terminology in business circles. We have Mostso, we have Cutway, we have the 5 whys, and then we have the 6 thinking hats, right? So let's get into them proper. So MOST, so M-O-S-T, the acronym, what does it mean? It means mission, objective, and strategies. So this technique, it allowed business analysis to perform a thorough internal analysis of what is the aim of the organization to achieve, and then how to tackle such issues. So when you're looking at this, you're looking at the mission, the objective, strategies. Every system that we want to build, we're not going to just build it in some plain vacuum. It will have to align with the mission, the objectives, and the strategies of the organization. We cannot be a car or an automobile company, and then we're building a system, build a platform, and the platform is going to sell, clothes. It's going to sell shoes. Whatever that we build will have to align. We need to make sure that it corresponds with the mission, the objectives, and strategies of the organization. So guys, keep in mind that, as you're talking to stakeholders, talking to other internal users and internal stakeholders and customers and whatever, they could be coming out with some funny, interesting ideas, but you always have to put them in check, right? You have a duty to put them in check to make sure that whatever that they're saying, it might be very exciting and it really tickles and excites them, but you got to make sure that does this, correlate with the mission, the objective and strategies of this company. If not, you as a business analyst, you have a duty to make sure that you align that whatever that they're talking about aligns with this goal, aligns with this mission. So it's very, very important. So MOST, common business analysis, technique. You need to keep that in mind, right? You need to keep that in mind. Number 2, the Pesto. So PESTLE, Pesto. So Pesto is an acronym that stands for political, economic, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental. So that's Pesto. So Pesto, everything we want to build, if you guys are following the news, all the time, this, big tech, their CEOs, especially for those who are here in America, their CEOs are always in Capitol Hill. They are answering questions to senators and, they are answering questions to all these politicians because they've gone against the law, or they've done something that, politicians want to be able to understand whether what you guys are doing, does not flounce, the laws. So all the time, every solution that we're building, we got to make sure that we are adhering to some compliance or some, regulatory, framework. So this model helps business analysts to evaluate all external factors which can possibly impression organization and determine how to address them, right? So when you're building something, we also have to think about the political nature of this, the economic side of this, sociological side of this. How is this going to affect people? Technological, legal, environmental. I consulted for CDC some years back, Center for Disease Control. I know CDC is very popular nowadays because of COVID-19, because everybody, especially people around the world, from Europe, from Africa, with all their health care challenges and other things, they all depend on information that are put out on CDC's website to know, okay, how are we going to be treating and be looking at COVID-19. And CDC, as I was consulting for CDC some years back, sociological, there are platforms that we build that must adhere to certain standards, especially when you're working for the federal government. CDC is an arm of federal government, of the US government. And you need to be able to adhere to certain standards, certain principles. You cannot just build things because you want to build them, especially when all the states here and people in all these states, they all depend on this. You need to adhere to people of all nature, of all kinds, of all characters and other things. So it's very, very important here. C-word. C-word is very popular. So C-word means strength, weakness, opportunities, and then threats, right? So you guys are familiar with it. So this technique helps you to find areas of both strength and weakness. It also allows for proper allocation of resources. So as we want to build, is great. We want to build cool products. We want to build a cool features. We want to enhance our already existing platforms. But as we do this, we want to be able to analyze and carefully look at our strengths, our weakness, opportunities, and then threats. So we go beyond just looking at what we want to build, but we want to look at even where will this matter? We look at our competitors. What are they doing? We look at the trends, what is going on the outside. So as we're looking at, the trends that is going on the outside and opportunities that are out there, we're looking for areas of strength. We're looking for areas of weakness. Okay, if we do this, where are we going to fit in on the international side? If we build this platform, if we do this, if we enhance this feature, what is going to be the opportunity for us? So all the time, you got to be looking at this. And of course, once we're doing this, we want to be able to have our best foot forward, right? So it allows you to have proper allocation of resources. So as looking at your strength, your weakness, opportunities, and other things, you're able to put, the right resources at the right place, right? So you're not going to be building stuff and throwing money in and doing all those things because you just want to do it. No, we want to be able to allocate the best resources, then whether quantity or quality, quantity or qualitative wise, put it at the right place, right? It's very important that we do that. And then Moscow. So Moscow is the capital city for Russia, right? But here is an acronym. Over here, it is an acronym. So Moscow. So Moscow, we look at the M stand for mass, the O stand for all, and then should, and then the COW stands for could or would. So what does this acronym mean here? Moscow. So this technique allows prioritization of requirements by presenting a framework in which every individual requirement should be evaluated relative to others. So we want to build a fantastic, a great platform, but there are a series of activities that need to happen. We have different features that they all need to be able to align for us to be able to get to our final destination. But we need to be able to prioritize. And this is what is going to help us. This technique is what's going to help us to prioritize. So as we prioritize, what are we doing? There are certain features that are a must, right? Or should. That means we cannot do without. We need to be able to commit this feature into our platform. It must go in, right? There are other features that will fall into the category of could or would. So the features that will fall into the category of could or would, that means, well, this is a nice and a cool, exciting feature, but if we don't have it now, we cannot be hitting our head, we cannot be beating ourselves. We can defer this and maybe take this in the subsequent deployment or something like that, right? So could or would means that this is cool, this is nice, this is exciting, but we can defer on this. So this is how we are able to prioritize. When we want to prioritize, this technique is what's going to help us prioritize. So you look at all the things that you want to build in a system, on a platform, on any place, and then you use this technique called Moscow. We're going to be using this a lot in our hands-on, in our practicals, our projects. We're going to be using Moscow a lot. So take note, guys, that you're going to be using this is a must, this is a should, this is a could, this is a would, right? This is how we prioritize different set of requirements, different set of wish lists, all the things that stakeholders are telling us that we should build. Certain things will go in first, and other things will come in second, and other things will come third, other things will come fourth, other things will be fifth. We'll prioritize them in a certain order. But this is the technique, essentially, that is going to help us to prioritize. So take note. And then we have Cutway, right? Cutway. So Cutway, the CATWOE, simply stands for customers, actors, transformation process, worldview, owner, and environmental. So we want to build a solid, great platform. It's fine, there's no problem with that, right? But we also need to be able to understand our customers. Who are we building for? There's a company called, is it Blue Lemonade or something like that? Every company, Mercedes-Benz, they know their customers. Mercedes-Benz, they're not building for everybody. BMW, they know their customers. Every company, every platform, they know their target audience, their target customers, the people that they're selling their products to, right? When people complain, hey, why is Infinity? Why is this car so expensive? Why is this car, this? Why is this product so expensive? It's not for you, right? You don't have to complain. They're not building it for you. When a Ferrari costs this much, when a Rolls Royce costs this much, $400,000, $500,000, and you can have all the customized stuff and even go over maybe $1 million. It's great, but it is not for you. They know their customers, right? Every platform that we build, every system that we build, we know our customers, and we should know them, right? And as a business analyst, the product owner, anything that you are building, you think about, okay, our customers. Some years back, I was consulting for Nissan Motor Corporation, and in the same company that I was working for as Nissan, as we built connected vehicle, all the telematics in the car, infotainment in the car. We were responsible for all those vehicle connected services in Nissan cars, and it's the same car, Nissan Motor Corporation. They are also building Infinity, But when it comes to our Infinity lines, and I work on all these two cars, I work on Nissan and I work on Infinity as well. Infinity, brings something we call performance. Infinity is a high-end, product, very expensive, a little bit expensive than Nissan, models, all the Nissan Leaf, Maxima, Ultima, and all the other models that we were building, right, at that time. Infinity, Q50, all the big ones and all the small ones, all those high-performing cars, they come with a different price tag. It's not the same price that we sell. We sell the Nissan. So you got to know your customers. They know, as a company, they know who their customers were. When they were putting together all those badges, all those beautiful things for Nissan, they know who their customers are. Again, when they are building for Infinity, right? You got to know this. It's very important. Actors, what kind of people will be interfacing or interacting with your platform, right? You got to know this. Transformation process. How will this bring efficiency? How will this transform their lives? All the time, you got to be looking at this. It's very important. Transformation process. The worldview. You also got to look at, the kind of comment, feedback, other places around the world. How does your product stand or compete with this kind of, other products that are around the world? You got to be looking at that. The owner and environmental. How will this even affect the environment? So this technique helps you to recognize processes that may be affected by any action the business undertakes. So as we're building this, if our customers take some action, if our actors take some action, if the worldview and world, opinions and other things, take a different shape, different form and whatever, what's going to happen to us. So you got to be able to understand environment, laws, restrictions, and other standards that we need to adhere to. How are all these things going to play out, right? It's very, very important. Very, very important. So somebody's asking a question here. Benish is asking a question here. So do you always have to consider each of these analysis techniques on a project, or you can just pick and choose as you see fit for needs of a particular project you're working on? So that's a great question, Benish. So all of these things is just to get you grounded. You're not just going to use Cutway or something like that. There's no need that you're not going to write on the project. This is going to be a Cutway. This is going to be this. This is going to be a Pesto. This is just information to get you grounded so that, when you start working in your mind, you got to be thinking about this, that, how does this, solve this? As you begin to interact, you begin to interface with your stakeholders, this should be something that is already reinforced in your mind, right? So you look at your customers, actors, transformation process. So this is what is going to arm you to ask relevant questions, right? When your stakeholders say something, because you know this, you will be able to ask relevant questions. How will this transform the existing process, right? So these are all information to get you grounded, not necessarily to put on a document and say, we're going to be using Cutway for this project, or we're going to be using this for this process here. No, these are all information to help you, to arm you, to get you, ready, right? For the things that you'll be working on. I hope I've answered your question. All right. Now let's look at the 5 ways. This is another common technique as well, the 5 ways, or the 5 whys. The 5 whys, this is a technique, is a backbone for both what we call Six Sigma and business analysis techniques. It consists of, leading questions that allow business analysts to single out the root cause of an issue by asking why such a situation arises. So we have a certain things when we might get in depth into the Six Sigma things. It's always about root cause. It's always about root cause. What happened? We're not going to blame, and we're not going to blame some blame some spirit for anything that happened. We need to be asking questions. Why is this? Why does this happen? Why is this happening? Well, what happened for us to we're not going to be blaming, we're not just going to start spewing things out of emotion. So guys, this is very important. When you're on a project call, when you're on a meeting, you're not just going to say things and begin to give opinion and other things based on your religious beliefs, based on emotions and whatnot. No, it's all about root cause analysis. It has to be calculative. It has to be processes. We need to be able to understand what got broken here. We need to understand what happened here. What's up with this process? What's up with this pain point? How did we build this? How did this happen? We begin to ask questions on why, 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 why. There are 5 levels of thinking. This is a side thing. This is not part of what I'm talking about. This is a side thing. There are 5 or maybe 4 levels of thinking. We have what, we have why, we have how, and then we have what else. This is a side thing. I just want you guys to keep in mind. And maybe in the future, if I can remember, I'll come back to it. What, why, how, and what more. Google, Apple, and all those big companies, they are at what more. So that is why Samsung, they are all at what more. So that's why they don't wait for you to come and tell them, build a phone for us that can check our health, that can do this, that can, our heartbeat rate. No, they're already at what we call the 4th level of what more. What more can we do? That is a level for innovation. That is a level that breeds innovation, breeds invention, and all those things, right? Most of us, we are all at what? We're always complaining. Why did the government do this? Why did the government do this? And then just a few handful of us, maybe we have transcended and moved from what, and then we are at why. And so we're able to ask, some relevant questions, say why? But how? We now begin to find answers. When you get to how will we solve this? How will this change? We have to be change agents, and we need to be able to get to that thinking level of how, so that in your own way, you start doing something. And then what more? Then you are at the level of Apple, you are at the level of Samsung, you are at the level of these big giants. That's how they are thinking. What more? And we can all think at the same level too. What more? What more can be done here? You wake up in the morning, you see your environment, and you need to be able to realize what more? What else can we do here? This is a side thing. Keep that in mind. Maybe in the future, when I remember this again, we might get more in depth into this. But this is the 5 whys, guys. And then we have the 6th thinking hat. The 6th thinking hat, right? 6th thinking hat. This process helps you to consider alternative perspective and ideas. The 6 has in techniques, which is categorized as the green, which is creative thinking. The number 2 is blue, talk about big picture overview, and then white, logical data-driven thinking. Yellow, positive thinking, which mainly focuses on pros, and then red, emotion-based reactions, and then black, opposing thinking, which focus on cons, right? So this is the 6 thinking hats. The 6 thinking hats. All right, let's look at this real quick. I know we have some 9 minutes left. Yeah, we'll be able to maybe finish this before our time comes up to the top of the hour. All right, so requirement elicitation methods. Let's look at requirement elicitation method. Now we're beginning to get into our meat and potato, right? This is where we're going to be, where we will dwell for the most part. Requirement elicitation methods. Let's get into that. So number 1 is interface analysis. We're going to be looking at requirement workshop, reverse engineering, surveys, and questionnaires, right? So we have been tasked to talk to stakeholders, to elicit requirement. But we got to know, how are we going to do this? How are we going to elicit requirement? Number 1, we can do interface analysis. So what is interface analysis? So interface analysis, we're looking at maybe the current state system. You're looking at the interface. Okay, how does this front end, this process connect to the back end? How is this being done? If somebody come on our platform, they pay money, they pay offering, they buy a book, they do whatever. We got to be able to understand. And every system that you see, right? Every interface that you see is a connection of 2 components, right? It's a connection of 2 components. You got to be able to understand that. That's a minimum. That is the minimum. It can be more than that, maybe 3, 4, 5, whatever. There are middlewares, back ends, there are several other things, third-party integrations and third-party APIs that we might be connected to, so many things. But I want you guys to understand that every platform that you see, there are at least 2 interfaces. So as you begin to do number 1, interface analysis, you're beginning to think, oh, okay, so how does this connect? You yourself, you need to start thinking. You need to start writing things down. So how does this work? How does this platform connect to, this other process here? So that's number 1. And then you also can be can be user interface, system to system, system to other hardware devices. So think about it, for instance, when you go to the store, right? POS devices, point of sale terminals, right? When you look at point of sale terminals, your receipt comes out from a different end. Your scanning, where you scan the item and then you put it in a bag or something like that, is also at a different end where you might have to insert money when it's time for you to pay. There's a payment terminal also on it where you can insert a Visa card or you can use cash. You got to be able to think about all these connections, system to hardware. Where does all this money goes? Where does all these things stand in here? Sometimes even when you don't put in, when you're buying something like fruit, sometimes you'll be asked to put the fruit on top of the scale. The terminal that you're using also performs the duty of a scale. And so sometimes when you put a banana or whatever on it, it weighs it, and by the weight, it will calculate the price. And I know you guys have seen some of this feature with different point of sale terminals. And you got to be able to start thinking system to system, system to hardware devices. So as the payment is complete, a receipt gets pulled out, a receipt gets printed out for me. This happened over here. When I tap this screen, this process leads to what? So interface analysis, you begin to think about it, that way. So you elicit specific details about the interface depending on the type. So different systems and different platforms will call for different interface analysis that should be performed or that should be done. Number 2, requirement workshop. So great, the company wants to build a platform. They want to build this new enhancement, new feature. What you can use is what we call a workshop. What was a workshop? So a workshop is a structured way to capture requirement. A workshop may be used to scope, to discover, to prioritize, to define, and reach closure on a requirement for the target system. So yesterday we started talking about this example. We started using the example of money transfer. Yes, I remember money transfer. So you bring all the team in a room. So requirement workshop, you have, when I say a room, don't think about a big conference room or anything. They can be Zoom. You will just bring, maybe one manager from wire transfer, one manager from compliance, one manager from whatever. You invite them by using Microsoft Outlook, your email client, whatever that you're using, and they might come on the call. It is considered as what? A workshop. It's not like a big room where you are standing and you're talking to other people. If it happens, it's great. And I know you guys can do it, right? But everything is virtual now. Most of all these meetings that we're having on our work calls, they are all virtual. So they come on the call, 1 or 2 people come on the call, and then you say you're having a workshop. So once this happens, you asking them questions, what are we building? And then they will tell you, they will narrate, why we are here. This is why we're building this system. We're capturing this. So as they talk, as they give you all the story behind it, you're also capturing, right? You're detailing out, you're writing. When I say you're capturing, that means you are writing the requirement. So they'll tell about the scope of the project. We want to be able to build this so that users can transfer money internally. If it's here in America, I say, okay, we want to just build this. For now, the MVP or the scope of this project is just going to be people remitting money to people within continental US, right? It's not going to be outside or international. Maybe later on in the years, in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, we might look into international money transfer, and then we'll begin to compete with maybe the likes of MoneyGram, Western Union, and the likes who are already in that space, right? So at the workshop level, they will give you all this information about the scope, what we want to build, how this is going to be done, where this is going to be done, who can access this. So it's a discovery phase or a discover phase for you. You begin to learn about what they want, the stakeholders want. And as you begin to learn about it, the discovery phase, you will also be prioritizing. You will also be prioritizing. So you begin to know from them. They will tell you, this is important to us. This is okay. This is also very important to us. This one too, we'll consider it. So as they narrating all these things and telling you all these things, you begin to know, okay, some things are very important. They'll tell you this one, we need to make sure that it's in. So maybe there might be some compliance thing, right? So that we don't want lawsuit, people suing us in court, and we don't have to be going to court all the time. So there are certain things that you have to prioritize, and you as a business analyst, product owner, whatnot, you need to start thinking about it that way. Okay, this one is very important. We need to make sure we commit this feature in there, and you begin to define, and you begin to reach, closure. So when all of this is said and done, this is how we'll close this project. This is how this is going to be done for the target system. So that is requirement workshop. And then we have reverse engineering. So reverse engineering is a process of analyzing the subject system, a product, to identify and align business process, the data, the rules, based on identification work. Representation of the system, the product might be created at a very high level of abstraction, white box and black box. So all of this, what it means is that, you'll begin to look at a particular system, a subject system, and you begin to, identify all the business processes, the data, the business rules, transformation rules, and whatnot, all the things that goes into the system. You begin to look in depth, like deeply into all those things. Okay, so when somebody starts, buying a product on this platform, when they shop, well, so for instance, when you go on to, Macy's, you go on to Amazon.com, when you add items to the cart, when you add items to the cart, and then you finish with the payment, you finish with what? Where does that lead to? Who will be the point of reference or the first point of contact for the items that you have shopped online, and then who's going to be the second point of reference? So you need to know all the workflows that are performed in the system, all the processes, where the cycles that it goes through. Mind you, before your item get packaged in the box, get wrapped up, all those processes that are in there, somebody is going to be responsible for that. And you begin to identify all those underlying business processes and workflows, sign off, data, business rules, where does, all the payment data, their addresses, their first name, last name, address that we are shipping to, where does all these things go up to? So that is reverse engineering. You begin to, look into all these processes and identify the work that needs to be done. And then lastly, we have surveys and questionnaire. So surveys and questionnaires, sometimes, you can list some questions and you can send it to stakeholders, right? So a survey administers a set of rating questions to the stakeholders and subject matter experts. So we want to build money transfer. Sometimes, even before you set up a workshop or meeting or whatever, you can have a list of questions, and then you can send this question out by email to stakeholders and subject matter experts or solution owners, and then they will respond with the answers. So this will give you an initial, insight or impression into what you're about to build, and then it will also arm you again to be able to ask subsequent questions. Or when you have an opportunity to get on a workshop call or an elicitation call or whatever, you'll be able to ask the relevant question because you've been given some initial information from surveys, questionnaires. Mind you, you don't use all of these techniques at one time. Sometimes you might not even have to use surveys or questionnaires. Sometimes you might not even have to use reverse engineering. Sometimes you might not have to use workshop. You might just, every technique that you think is comfortable for you, that is what you use. And we will do some of these examples, so no problems with that. I think our time is up. I don't see any question yet. Any question? Let me go to chat box real quick. I see one in here. Time is up. Okay. So I don't see the question. So anybody question before we end? Well, we've already hit 7 a.m. here. So, all right, then thank you guys. We will continue tomorrow, same time. All right, bye.